The top response is from a guy that says, "Stop with the lies. My fat daughter looked up to you." I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just not a sentence you hear every day.
I'm Jaime Fritz. I need all you dozens of viewers out there to just tell me how you like this, alright? Welcome to the show.
All right, kids. We got some drama. Drama alert. I'm just kidding. I'm not a drama channel. Shout out to my friend BrandoJJ22 on Twitter. X, for this suggestion. I saw this going around, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about it. Oftentimes, like, if everybody's talking about something, I will avoid it for some reason. I don't know. I get nervous about dogpiling and such. But this is why I love Twitter. X, because sometimes when I'm on the fence about something, if I hear from you guys, my friends, that you want to talk about it, I will look further into a topic, and this one in particular is so much worse than what I initially realized, to the point where I'm quite uncomfortable talking about some of it on this channel. I'm going to kind of keep it PG-13, but just viewer discretion.
Viewer discretion is advised.
The situation is insane. So you guys know the drill. Unless you live under a rock and are Nell from the movie Nell, then you probably know who Lizzo is. But if not, she is an extremely famous and once very well loved, up until this situation, rapper, singer, songwriter, actress, musician, flute person. She is everywhere, and if you don't know who she is, it's quite likely that you've probably heard her music, or at least this line of this song.
I just took a DNA test.
Or this one.
Why men great till they gotta be great?
Or you've definitely heard this one.
It's about damn time.
Quite catchy. Very talented gal. Well, recently she has come under fire big time.
Well, some stunning allegations against singer Lizzo, why some of her backup dancers are suing.
I'll read you this headline here, tweeted by an account called Pop Base. They're like a news account. Former Lizzo dancers were weight shamed and pressured while at a strip club, lawsuit says. Now that was like the headline that I initially read, and while it is quite bad, it's nothing compared to how bad it actually gets. The article goes on to say 3 of Lizzer's Lizzers. What? Lizzer. More like loser, am I right?
That's not funny.
3 of Lizzo's former dancers have accused the singer of harassment and creating a hostile work environment, according to a lawsuit filed Tuesday. They also allege that she pressured them to touch a nude performer at an Amsterdam club and subjected the group to an excruciating audition after leveling false accusations that they were drinking on the job. Okay, so that's a lot to unpack right off the bat, but it actually gets even worse than that. But first things first, this is quite shocking to the general population of people who use social media and listen to music, because many people feel like she has always come across as somebody who would be the exact opposite of this. She's very, she's like known for her body positivity. Yeah. That's what I meant. She's very vocal about body positivity. When I first read that, I literally, just based on what I know about her, I assumed that the weight shaming was shaming her dancers for being too thin. I remember seeing a post of hers on Instagram years back. She was in town for some event and she was looking for dancers, and she specifically said in her Instagram post, she was like, I want dancers who look like me. I mean, her Instagram name is Lizzo Be Eating. Like, she is probably the biggest advocate I've ever seen, like, for the fat acceptance movement. So yeah, so again, my first thought was, if she's weight shaming her dancers, it's probably because she thinks they're too thin, but it appears that I was wrong. All of these articles actually say her dancers were fat shamed. Here's another article from the Daily Beast. We have the title here, but this little tagline says, the 44-page lawsuit accuses Lizzo and her team of assault, racial and religious harassment, and disability discrimination. Oh snap. Okay, so here's an actual photo of the lawsuit. I guess this is public information. I don't know anything about anything. In professional dance, a dancer's weight gain is often seen as that dancer getting lazy or worse off as a performer, the suit reads. And the choreographer's questions about Miss Davis's commitment to the tour were thinly veiled concerns about her weight gain. This doesn't sound incredibly solid. It sounds like almost like hearsay. Because this article didn't give a lot of detail, the actual complaint gives a bit more detail. Paragraph 50 says, although Lizzo and Miss Scott never explicitly stated it, these questions accompanied by Lizzo Lizzo's statements made after the South by Southwest Music Festival gave Miss Davis the impression that she needed to explain her weight gain and disclose intimate personal details about her life in order to keep her job. Okay, so it kind of sounds like there were underhanded comments about her body disguised as concern. As somebody who doesn't know a lot about legal stuff or lawsuits or anything, it is surprising to me that this could be part of a lawsuit because it's one person's word against another. And especially if she's saying it was never explicitly stated and it was a thinly veiled comment. Does that hold up in court? I don't actually know. I'm sure it happened, but I didn't realize part of a lawsuit could be that somebody made underhanded comments about your body, you know, just thinking out loud here.
The following day.
Hey, update. I read the entire lawsuit. It's a lot. All right, so the plaintiffs are Crystal Williams, also known as Miss Williams, Ariana Davis, also known as Miss Davis, and Noelle Rodriguez, also known as Miss Rodriguez. And the defendants are Big Girl Big Touring, which I guess is Lizzo's like company, Charlene Quigley, which is Lizzo's choreographer, and Melissa Jefferson. Who's Melissa Jefferson? Oh, that's Lizzo. So the first few paragraphs of this really focus on the behavior of Lizzo's choreographer, Shailene Woodley.
No.
Charlene Quigley. And it's pretty wild what this woman was doing. So allegedly, according to this document, Charlene Quigley is very religious. She's a Christian. And I'm not here to shade that. So am I. But the weird part of this is that the plaintiffs are alleging that she was constantly berating everybody for not having the exact same beliefs that she has, and was always pushing her beliefs on the girls and like seeking individual girls out to preach to them, etc., which it appears is unlawful in California. Unlawful is a funny word. It reminds me of that bucktooth guy.
Unlawfully.
So she's a devout Christian, preaching quite often to her, to the dancers, but then at the same time would make overtly sexual comments all the time and like weird simulations using a banana. I've heard more gross things about bananas in the last 2 days than I ever thought I would hear in a lifetime. So if all of these allegations are true, then Miss Quigley is probably going to be in for some consequences herself. It's not just Lizzo, you know what I'm saying? I went and checked out her TikTok just because I was seeing some of her content go around on Twitter, and, you know, curiosity got the best of me, and I found this video in particular to be quite interesting.
No is so powerful, and how you say no obviously is powerful too. And obviously when you say no, you're gonna get some flack, and that's okay. And the worst case scenario is you get fired, but believe in yourself so much that you're like, okay, then God has something else for me. It's not like you got fired because of a bad attitude. You got fired because you said something that didn't feel right for you and the thing that is on your heart, whether you're a believer or not. You know, even people that don't believe in God are uncomfortable doing certain things, but they'll just say yes for a check.
Charlene, was that what I think it was? Was that a fake podcast? I don't want to assume, okay, but just knowing what we know now, I think that might be a fake podcast and that she was talking to a stuffed animal. I think she was talking to a Beanie Baby. I was wrong. She actually was on a podcast. So obviously this video is ironic for obvious reasons if, again, this is all proved to be true. I'm always like, okay, let me quickly explain the reason why I don't cover topics like this quite often. These are accusations, and I don't want to just like immediately assume every single detail to be 100% true, but I also don't like to invalidate these people's experiences. So I'm just trying to word everything correctly. Sorry if I'm wrong half the time. But nothing that Miss Quigley is accused of compares at all to the allegations against Lizzo herself. So we talked a little bit about the body shaming yesterday, and I was just kind of speculating that part seemed like something that might be difficult to prove in court. I don't know how it works. But the rest of this stuff, the rest of the complaint, it appears as though there are many witnesses to some of this stuff, so I don't see how Lizzo would be able to dodge these accusations. So the plaintiffs are explaining that Lizzo would often invite all of her dancers out on the town, like after their dancing duties were done, and they would just go out, go to clubs, party, what have you. They are alleging that if they didn't go out, like it wasn't technically mandatory, but if they didn't go out, they were treated differently. They were kind of like ostracized by the rest of the group. And I quote, "It was well known that dance cast members were expected to endear themselves to Lizzo." Oh, gross. That's like, it reminds me of like the cool mean girl in school that did terrible things, but Everybody like worshipped her. I don't know why anybody would want that. I don't know why you would want people to pretend they liked you out of like compulsion or because they're afraid to lose their job.
Allegedly.
So anywho, in fear of losing their jobs, these dancers would go out with Lizzo to whatever club she wanted. And I need to skip over the next few paragraphs that discuss the things that happened when they would go out to these clubs. And again, if this happened in front of the dancers, the performers, the security people, the other patrons at the club, etc., that's like a crap ton of witnesses. So it seems pretty likely that this part of the lawsuit is really accurate. And it's appalling. It has lawsuit and like HIPAA violation written all over it. Is that the right word? HIPAA? Or is it OSHA? Oddly enough, it's seeming like her dancers were not the only people, not her only employees that she like did terrible stuff to. So paragraph 38 says Lizzo badgered the security guard to get on the club stage until he submitted to her demands. When he got on the stage, his pants were pulled down, exposing his Lizzo then began yelling, "Take it off," while a club performer hit the security guard with whips. Plaintiffs were aghast with how little regard Lizzo showed for the bodily autonomy of her employees and those around her, especially in the presence of many people whom she employed. The paragraph doesn't say a lot about the security guard himself and how he felt. It would be, of course, interesting to hear his whole side of the story, if he felt coerced and pressured to keep his job or if he thought it was all in good fun. It doesn't really explain that, but it's crazy to think, like I keep thinking about it from the perspective of a business owner that has employees, and I'm sure that probably sounds self-righteous or pretentious, like I would never do that, but it actually is quite mind-boggling to think like how many laws were broken and how many violations occurred, just from a business standpoint.
If, to be honest, if this was a corporate office and she was doing exactly the same thing that she was doing on tour, immediately that would be so many HR violations.
The lawsuit is never ending. It goes into a pretty great detail about how the dancers were instructed that they couldn't take on other work even when Lizzo didn't have any work for them. They're saying that the black dancers were treated far worse and completely differently than the non-black dancers. There was a big incident where Lizzo made everybody re-audition, which ended up being like a 12-hour rehearsal where they had to run through the show so many times with no breaks. One girl ended up peeing on herself. I was talking to my friend about it this morning and I was like, I haven't felt in fear of my job in a long time, which is something I'm really fortunate to not have to feel. But I do remember that. I do remember doing things, not obviously to this extent, thankfully, but I remember doing things a lot that I did not want to do that made me super uncomfortable out of fear of a job or out of fear of losing my job. And now as an adult, I'm like, that job was nothing. That job was, I could have gone next door and got the same job. Like, why did I let that fear dictate what I was doing? But it's a thing. It's a thing people do,
Nobody speaks up because they're so scared for their jobs. I was terrified for my job.
I would imagine, especially in a situation like this where your employer is a famous, powerful, rich, charismatic celebrity, they probably felt like this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. I would be crazy to mess this up. It's added pressure. Again, according to this document, Lizzo had a meeting with her dancers and she accused them of drinking before their performances. And so one of the plaintiffs, Miss Williams, questioned this. Apparently she raised her hand and was like, "Why are you saying that we're drinking or we're not drinking, etc.?" Which caused her to be fired thereafter for questioning Lizzo.
So if there's anything that I can do in my power to ensure that dancers or singers or whoever decides to work with her don't have to go through that same experience, I'm gonna do that.
And then Miss Davis was also fired for recording one of her meetings with Lizzo, which reminded me of that meme, that abusers be like meme. Abusers be like, "How dare you ruin my reputation by telling people the things I said and did." And last but not least, the complaint ends with another insane story. So the third plaintiff, Miss Rodriguez, I guess ended up resigning because she didn't like what she was seeing. She didn't like how Lizzo handled the situation with Miss Davis. So she resigned. And in response, her boss, Lizzo, tried to fight her, like physically. Lizzo aggressively approached Miss Rodriguez, cracking her knuckles, balling her fist, exclaiming, "You're lucky, you're so lucky." Miss Rodriguez feared that Lizzo intended to hit her and would have done so if the other dancers had not intervened. Neither security nor management did anything to de-escalate the situation. As Lizzo left the room, she raised both her middle fingers and yelled, "Bye, B-word." That's professional. Are you kidding? Sorry. I always like to give the benefit of the doubt. I like to hear the other side of the story. This is just looking quite rough. So all of this being said, I want to tell you guys the reason I want to talk about this today. I feel like at some point in all of our lives, myself included, especially when I was younger, we have all sort of maybe not idolize is a strong word. Sometimes we idealize celebrities. I am seeing so much feedback from people on Twitter who are absolutely devastated by this, like because they feel like when it's a musician or an artist or whoever that you're a big fan of and you find out they're a terrible person, it can be quite devastating. I just want to give you guys all some food for thought to be on the watch, be on the lookout, and remember that talent and charisma and personality does not equate to being a wonderful person. Especially you youngsters out there, you gotta try not to be fooled by what you see on a screen, because the most charismatic and fun-loving and seemingly positive person on camera, may not be who you think they are. And I hate to see people devastated by this. I hate thinking about little kids that were her fans and just being crushed by this. We got to keep our wits about us, friends, and not idolize rich and famous people, because they are, after all, people and therefore fallible. I feel like this goes for anything. You can idealize a family member, a doctor, a pastor, Robert Goulet. Always remember that humans are humans. Thanks for coming in my TED Talk. Now, again, friends, I do know that there's multiple sides to every story. I'm not here to push my opinion on anything. I'm just reporting on this. I'm curious to see how Lizzo and BGBT are going to respond to this, but someone on Twitter made a good point because I asked your guys' opinions about this. So my friend Rebecca H said her lawyers will never let her respond. There will be an arbitration and a settlement, and it will get brushed under the rug. Same with all the sexual harassers. I read that and I was like, yeah, that's a good point. That's probably exactly what's going to happen.
Moments later.
Update again. Lizzo just responded and posted this to Twitter. The top response is from a guy that says, "Stop with the lies. My fat daughter looked up to you." I'm sorry. It's just not a sentence you hear every day. Sorry. I don't think that's a real comment. One person said, "You said a whole lot without saying anything at all." That's kind of what I was thinking. She basically denied the weight comments and not the other things. "You honestly just stated a whole bunch of nothing. Delete this and try again, Melissa." Oh boy, the response is not good. I don't think I've ever seen someone post a public apology and had a good response, especially typing it into a note and posting it to Twitter. Wowzers, fam. That was a lot. Okay, back to whatever I was saying before we interrupted this program.
Flashback.
Also, this is neither here nor there, but I did see somebody playing a snippet from her song Rumors. I don't want to imply that this Rumor song is Lizzo's response to any of this. I believe the song was written a long time ago, but it does seem to show how Lizzo feels about this sort of thing.
Because some hoes are loose, yeah. Indy ain't no loose lips. Now them hoes trying to sue me. I don't give two
That didn't age well. Please leave your opinion on this situation in the comments below. And I just have one question for you guys. It's a very important question, which is, why food great when I want to lose weight? I'm just kidding. My actual question is, what should we chat about next time? I love you, friends. Stay safe and don't idolize celebrities. Hashtag TTYL. What is a Balenciaga? I'm not even mad, honestly. At this point, this has become like an experiment. It's like a phenomenon. It's like the instant. There will be radio silence in the instant I open my mouth to say, "Hey kids, Nick makes really loud noise." Yeah, what could he be doing up there? Whittling something? Welding? Building a second home? CrossFit? Jumping jacks. Now Liz will be like, "In a minute, I'm gonna need a sentimental good attorney to fight this lawsuit." That was stupid.